if you do get, you know, a quote-unquote minor region or an upset winner, putting a team like G2 in your base for the fun of it could be incredible. So that road is about to start for both of these two teams. It's G2 Esports versus Limitless.
First series of EWC 2024. G2, as we were saying, clear favourites in this one, but we're going to want to see what small wins Limitless can achieve and use this as their practice going through into the World Championship. Sweaty bumped off that one. And I think right now, we're going to be seeing G2 really figure out, okay, how on earth do we play with a player who isn't B-mode?
I mean, again, were so many options for G2 realistically to be able to replace Beast Mode in this event. Obviously, the pressure has now fallen into the hands of NAS to compete, but I don't think it's as much pressure as people are probably talking about. It's more the concern falls on the mental of being on LAN. However, if his performance is incredible and he seems comfortable, and this is what I was talking about, where G2 pulled a move, a mental move that I don't know many teams were prepared for. They put NAS in the captaincy. They put him in the middle.
That's
and
nice.
A lot of the times when teams do that, it gives you this sense of comfortability. You can look to both sides of you and know that you're not quite as alone. And putting that comfort blanket around NAS, I think, is actually going to help him find his way so much quicker throughout this weekend.
And what a great comfort blanket it is, having two of the best players in the world at the moment. Atomic going up, trying to prove he is one of them. Just dips it a little bit too far below the net, but up for 1, 2, 3. Nearly the triple tap, but assists Daniel for our first goal in the Rocket League this whole event.
NAS, I don't even know, what is this? Like, it's just a double, but it's still a mech in itself. And Daniel to clean. Again, the whole comparison is, does NAS compare to Beast Mode? Two extremely mechanical players in their own right. I think the answer is being shown to us very early on, yes. Yeah,
very much able to keep up with the performance that Beast Mode has put up. Whether we see that, of course, throughout the rest of the tournament is going to be a big question mark. I think everybody wants to see NAS succeed because, yes, we know pretty much he's not going to be joining G2 long-term. He's in it for this event. That is fine. What a resume it's going to be for him. This is the perfect time for him to be joining a different team after he, of course, was with Jorias and AJ on M80. They couldn't make it out of the quarterfinals Merchants. I think, what was it? 5 out of 6 events. And then the final event in the RLCS, they didn't make it out of Swiss, didn't quite make it to the quarterfinals, but a stunning player in his own right. A central pass, though. NAS, the second for G2, this time assisted by Dan.
The feed back and forth now on the opposing end of it, but my gosh, like you said, I mean, it's just this crazy resume that you're building for yourself. The fact that he was the one chosen for this, and this is what we're getting in the first 2 minutes of his very first game on LAN ever, okay? Mind you guys, this is ever. He's only 17, young gun coming into the RLCS. And I mean, like you said, they've always been, you know, stuck in that like lower mid-pack range on his former teams, like you were talking about with M80. G2 have never not known top 2 or winning overall. So if he can break out of that top 4, I think that's where things start to get a little bit fun. But of course, that's very, very early on to be talking about.
Yeah, and of course, that was Atomic assisting NAS on that other one, not Daniel. 2 minutes in. Seeing that 2-goal lead for G2 so far. Atomic trying to go central with it. Does get shut down by Sweaty. And let's look over towards Limitless now, because they are currently the kings of SSA. Of course, there's been talk between them and Mobula, the full import team. They recently went over there for the second split. They took away Limitless's London LAN spot. Much to the dismay, I think, of the Limitless players, which is fair enough, because they're thinking, I want to represent my region. I want to represent SSA here. Of course I do. So they're going to be hoping that they're going to be able to do well when it comes down to the World Championship in Fort Worth. But Limitless, they have won many, many events. They have dealt with a huge amount of pressure, but they're still hunting for those real top quality international wins, because you put them up against SSA, you put them up against APAC, yeah, they'll win usually. They might lose a couple. And in the interview prior to the stream starting, we were seeing that Snowy was like, yeah, we are better than APAC. We believe we're better than APAC. But that's one marker. You need to be better than the other regions. A close shot coming in there from Atomic to try and stretch that Limitless defense.
And I do got to give a little bit of credit to Limitless in this one. There's been a very decent amount of shots that have come through, and the fact that so many saves games are now becoming so consistent for Limitless, that's a win in itself. And you talked about this with me too. We were like, you know, what really is the goal for Limitless in this matchup, right? You're going up against the reigning, you know, regional champions right now. They're slotting shots off the crossbar like lasers. Most you can do at this point is just try your hardest to defend. I mean, they had, what, 4 saves before this, but this is the one that goes through from Atomic. 42 seconds on the clock, 3-0 up for G2 Esports. I still gotta say, though, I'm putting my hands up. I think Limitless keeping this at a 3-0 game right now, that isn't a bad start. Yeah,
not at all. I think that's fine. You go into it. It's okay. Like you said the most recent regional champions. How about a major? They've taken that major down.
I don't even know why I'm saying it's a major champion, technical world, because everybody was there.
Yeah. But now it comes down to seeing how Limitless, how they can adapt from game at number 1. It's always going to be the hardest, I think. Naso wants to go for a double. Actually draws out 2 defenders, but Daniel keeps on a lot of that pressure. Final 10 seconds. G2, the opening map is theirs.
I mean, it's just a really great performance overall. I do, again, credit to Nas. Everybody was very curious what his performance was going to look like in his very first game on LAN. You see the fist bumps, smiles from Dan is a great sign. That's a nod of approval that you definitely want to have. But on the other end of things, Limitless, I do love their mentality. I feel like it's not talked about enough how strong of a mental you have to have when you're coming in playing against, you know, the Goliaths of G2 Esports.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how they've performed in the previous regional events in their own home turf, the first 3, when they were looking forward to Copenhagen, they won all of them, and since they have been in 2nd place, both to Mobula, they've only missed a single grand final in their home region. G2, of course, don't even need to look to their home region to get to grand finals. Every single grand final we've had this season has had G2 in it.
Oh, yes. It is just...
It's been one of the... If they win Worlds, if they get to the grand final of Worlds even, it is a question mark of, is this the most dominant season we have ever seen from a team? And they are 100% up there already before we even look at Worlds.
Oh, yeah. I think the fact... it might be a hot take to some people, but I would already put them in that conversation for sure. I think just because you have to talk about how high of a skill level there is now in comparison to, you know, years and seasons past. This is the hardest it's ever been. And the fact that they have been so consistent is incredible, but now you're doing it with a new third, and still they are getting the wins. But I do gotta say, and I'm sure other people are thinking it, Limitless don't look bad in this series. And I was gonna say, if there is a time to catch G2 off guard right now, in particular Nas, it is those very early stage group games.
Yeah, don't let him get comfortable. Yeah. That's the aim, right? Unfortunately for Limitless, he does look quite comfortable. Going off from his own corner, but does fly his way past the ball. Ends up now going for a bump onto Dive4. Snowy can therefore take over. That back corner is going to be under siege. It's Dive4 now on the right-hand side. They're a very mechanical player on Limitless' side. Has been with that squad for a long time. Sweaty being the newest player to the Limitless squad, coming in for Darth. Snowy challenges into the corner. Sweaty this time. Now falls back down towards Daniel. It's Dive4 challenging. And I like that kind of play. Challenge and aggression. And as we've said, comfortability cannot fall on the side of G2.
Oh, absolutely not. All of this falls onto Limitless to find something that makes them uncomfortable. And I'm sure, I mean, you've got Sathyu as your coach. He probably very quickly caught Nas up to speed on, you know, the pace of play that G2 are usually at. But on the flip side of things right now, Limitless defensively have looked incredible. They've stopped a couple of these passing plays. They tried to get the beat out on Daniel just now, but Daniel still just a bit too much. His touch on there kept them at bay and in their own half here, but 3:33 on the clock and a wide shot towards net means Limitless have done an incredible job of keeping this completely scoreless.
And the issue of Limitless right now is working out of their own half. Atomic forgoes that ball for Daniel. He gets a reset, but shut down by Snowy. In the skies, now Sweaty's central. Dive4 is there, but low on boost, and Nats can catch up with him quite easily. Atomic with a 50, goes high in central. Who wins this fight? It's going to be Dan, but bumped away by Snowy. Leaves it to Dive4, who then ends up going low. That's Nas who has to deal with it, but I like the idea of going low till Dan goes very high. Reset, a bump in the net, but Snowy with a shutdown. And a long shot to Dive4, not quite enough power. Atomic clears it corner bound.
And there's been a few times I've seen this where G2 is almost on that fence about keeping that third third man fairly deep back. Having Atomic in that very, very deep third is more usual to G2, but Nas in particular I've seen stay a little bit closer to the midfield line, and I think if Limitless can spot those moments where you can catch them off guard just a tiny bit, could be easier to make these clears and turn them into transitions. There's an attempted one.
That's a
bump keeps it out, and off of the post, Limitless are the first to score in game 2.
First to score in game 2, their first goal of this entire event, and against G2. Not gonna lie, Sweaty did his best to miss that one. Hit the post when it was right in the center. But regardless, they all count for one. Fancied bonking the woodwork on his way through. Halfway through game number 2, and here in the Coliseum, Limitless draw first blood.
And this is what I was talking about, having those moments where you're understanding where to push up, where to catch G2 just a teensy tiny bit off guard, but I loved the full attack at the end. Everybody pushing up together at the right time, but same can be said for G2. Daniel completely on his own off the post of his own ball at 2 minutes to tie things up.
It was Atomic then moving in to try and get some bumps, but to be honest, to die for committed far too early to it. That's something you need to look out for. It's going for aggressive plays is all well and good, but if you're third man, mate, and your second man has not quite got himself back behind you, you are not able to go. You need to just slow down the opposition. You need to make sure that, okay, you're going for a challenge, but you're playing it safely. To die for, he dives in his third man, not what you need. G2, they draw themselves level with 2 minutes remaining.
I like the point you're making too. I mean, like we've said before, for Limitless, it's all about the small wins right now, right? They got that first goal on the board. They found a way to get through. But like you said, learning when to play it safe against this team is going to be the bigger one. There was an attempt to get the catch out there. Daniel, though, attempted to get a touch on it, falls to the hands of Nas. He's just going to throw this one out. Could get collected by Limitless. It does. Dead ball here. And I do like this level of aggression from Nas. He's done a couple of quick cuts to try and keep these plays going. So for G2, it's been fairly smooth since they've gotten that first goal here in game 2.
It's a miss, though, from Daniel. Relatively open, Snowy rather. Great chance to score on a pass central. I like seeing the different ideas coming out from them. Sweaty first man to it. Great speed. Beats out Atomic. Nas now using all his boost to get it out of the way. Snowy, a miss in the midfield, but we're seeing a lot of communication from them. We enter the final minute. And G2, they're going to need to press if they want to take down this second game. 1-2 central. An attempt for a bump, but Snowy dealing defensively brilliantly.
No connect on it. I mean, there's another attempt here to make a waterfall play if possible, but G2 actually look a little discombobulated, and that is so rare. Snowy playing the slow game there, got the save, but Nas ultimately is there to clean up. You saw the push at the right time, and at 35 seconds left, G2 to steal the lead.
It's Limitless, though, with that lead early on. Yes, they're going aggressive, but I think G2, they're so composed. They've got some of the best composure that we have seen this season, especially, where they deal with things, I think, relatively quickly. As soon as they hit an obstacle, they can normally get around it. Every now and then, of course, they're getting second in all of these grand finals that they end up in. But most recently, they've been able to deal with it, and Nas has been a fantastic stand-in so far from what we've seen. Limitless need to get one more of 50 from Snowy, then boosts low, but Atomic does keep that one low as well, so it bounces awkwardly. No one to challenge Daniel in the air. With 10 seconds left, you need to push to die for the man to start it.
One last attempt at a play, but G2 is going to keep this one away from them. Falls down, bounce up, Snowy to catch it. Nas is going to try and kill this ball. And you see the lurk there, but this one's going to hit the ground. G2 headed to match point, and honestly, like you said, completely composed. It was a rarity for Limitless to make that sort of attack and come out successful. First on the board, then it goes to tied game, and even then, it wasn't until that last 35 seconds or so that G2 was able to get into it.
You're seeing sheer concentration, I feel, from G2 at the moment. Sathi, the man.
All right, guys, it's over. Sathi's doing the stare.
All right, you can smile a little bit, mate. It's round one. Like, you're in a group, fella. You'll be okay. Of course, they've all got their eyes set on the beautiful Champions Trophy. At the end, they insert the only key remaining from Rocket League into the center of it and etch their names on the totem. A big, like, pillar, an obelisk of marble.
It's beautiful. It's insane to see in person, and I'm sure you guys are going to see it here. I think they've shown it through, like, rendering, but when you actually see it, it's ginormous. And, well, you know what? Speaking of ginormous, the Giants of G2 They've gone crazy. Limitless, going crazy in their own right. I mean, you guys got to admit it to yourselves. They don't look bad.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, they seem very, very happy with themselves. And at risk of saying something pretty cliche, the vibes, man. The vibes on Limitless look brilliant.
They're
they
incredible.
always are so good at that.
Oh, dude, I feel like, again, it is not talked about enough. I feel like, you know, in the most respectful way, you know, as a minor region, and I'm speaking more towards like SSA, APAC, OCE.
Of course, yeah.
You have to have some of the strongest mentalities to be able to come and compete internationally, because you know it is a whole new ball game in comparison to where you're at.
Great reset though from Dan, trying to shut down any of those good vibes. Tries to harsh that buzz. First 15 is immediate pressure though from G2. Central with one and the second attempt on a bump, but Snowy defensively yet again being the man to save Limitless's skin. A central pass, but Nas not really there for it. Does do well to get it back towards Daniel. An air dribble, ceiling, 10 boost, but can't quite find a path towards the ball. And Limitless, they held off a lot of pressure in the previous game. They're just going to need to do it a little bit more efficiently this time round. Daniel, again, no pressure for him. I think we're seeing Limitless wait a lot to see what G2 do. You can't do that forever, lads, because Atomic is going to hit that reset a little bit cleaner next time. Daniel's going to get a double tap a little bit better with every attempt that he has.
And I wanted to talk more to that. I feel like Limitless have slightly neglected the backboard defense right now, which has given G2 and Daniel, like you said, in particular, a little bit more space than he should be given if you're a Limitless player. But for now, they've been able to hold them back just a little bit. But here they come again. Nas around the corner here. This one gets placed right back. Low boost, though, for Snowy means a challenge could pull successfully. And this one's going to roll all the way to the other end of the field. It's a little bit of a team bump, and that's where the miscommunication could potentially go in Limitless's favor. Those tiny moments where you know that Nas, in reality, is technically the odd one out.
Yeah. I mean, that's also what you're going to need to try and make sure that you force home for them too. You need to make Nas uncomfortable so that he makes a lot of errors. So far, that hasn't happened, but both Nas and Atomic up for that one, burning a combined 50 boost to get to it. A long shot from Dan, wide of target. Sweaty up for the double in his own backboard, and then comes in again. Miscommunication on the Limitless side, or at least a panic starting to come through that facade to die for. A shot flying wide of target. A lot of boost on G2 side to push for a counter. One from Daniel. Great pre-jump from to die for to keep it away.
Slowly headed towards that second half of the game here. Nobody has been able to find their way through. G2 trying to change that, but Limitless to send them racing back home to defend. Snowy versus Daniel. Daniel, enough control to keep this one down, but it's two players from Limitless that pushed on him. And the player that everybody's been waiting to see, can he get those bailout moments that Beast Mode is able to do so much for G2 here. Second half of the game, coming through, Sweaty bumped off the play, means G2 are going to make their push upfield.
A somewhat indecisive push, both players living in their own back pockets, or each other's back pockets rather. Stifle now, 50, taking it low. Final 2 minutes rapidly approaching. Snowy, backboard. G2, of course, are going to be able to defend that one quite handily. Nas finding Daniel a long shot, and we're seeing G2 relinquish control quite frequently of that ball, trying to go for a lot of these long shots. I think keeping Limitless honest. And 1, 2, and to die for. The target man, the tip of the spear, pierces the G2 defense.
This is, again, full team effort for starters. It starts on one end of the field to the other, but this is pure connection between Limitless right now, and that's the sort of energy that you got to bring to the table if you're going against G2, because it does make them uncomfortable. There are very few teams that can be that connected to get around the defense, but they're going to do it back to them. Nas down to the ground to tie things up.
Seems like Limitless are only ever allowed about a 30-second lead in any given game, and that was not a good touch from to die for. He comes in, maybe bumped in the way of it. Nas able to then go for that low challenge. The keeper showing their cards, jumped early. Nas therefore goes low, and of course, Nas is one of the premium 1v1 players that we have seen in Rocket League. Most recently, transitioning over towards 3v3 and 2v2. But more primarily, he is that 1v1 player, or at least that's kind of how he came up. The man from Morocco. 90 seconds ticking down, G2 level once again.
Nas, reset, pass over to Atomic. That one's wide, tries to make the double off of it, but the cleanup from Daniel is all it's going to take. You want to talk about full team effort, Limitless. G2 is going to show you how it's done here at a minute 23.
What
the reset,
touch.
the side pass. It's all together every single time.
That touch is upsetting to see from how perfect it was. Sweaty was in net thinking, all right, this is to the side now. I'll see what Atomic does. Oh, my word, it's in front of me. Oh, my word, Daniel's there. And they're scored, but to die for. An immediate response.
Go back to the basics. A demo and a simple flick is all it took.
Totally
to
does
get
Atomic, though.
Atomic.
Totally does him in. As we said, the fundamentals.
Yes, I mean, sometimes less is more. And you know what? Limitless are understanding that. This one off the backboard, huge clear from Nas. Almost in. Instead, it goes off the crossbar.
At the back.
And Limitless take this as an opportunity to try and transition out, but get stopped at the tracks.
I saw a bump occurring towards the back on that G2 side, but the ball transition wasn't quite quick enough. Snow with low boost, made no better by Daniel stealing his in the corner, but Atomic and Dan both flying their way past the ball. Snowy, central, can he get this one back towards a teammate? Up for one, the second touch to die for. The target man not able to get anything from it. 45 seconds, both teams drawn level.
Snowy popped that one up into the corner, but Daniel took it away, and Daniel understands playing the high game really has been what has slowed Limitless down. Here comes Nas off the ceiling to himself. Very low boost means this is getting taken away almost immediately. 30 seconds left on the clock here. Tied game for somebody to try and steal it away, and Sweaty's going to try his hardest to start it off into a center, but no, like you said, nobody's there. I mean, you can play a patient game. Atomic's going for the demo. He gets it. Daniel to score. This is G2's game.
The perfect transition. Nas to Dan. Atomic puts on Predator vision and destroys to die for in the net. G2 a 1-goal lead. That was a good minute or so where they hadn't got the immediate retaliation. But the final 14 now. Limitless need to bring one back. Last one was from the kickoff. Snowy on target, but Atomic not removed from the pitch soon enough. Daniel up in the air, challenged by to die for. A strong 50 in favor of Limitless here, but Sweaty relinquishing control. This ball now has to be kept up. Nas backboard, the double is there, saved away. Sweaty control now.
This one's in though, of course. It's ending with Daniel, the one that honestly, he started it all. This is our Mechie man of the team, but you know what? Props where it is due. Congratulations, G2 Esports, first series win of the weekend. I mean, you couldn't script it any other way, but I gotta give flowers to Limitless.
Course, yeah.
They looked incredible. I mean, their heads are still held high on this
It's game one.
I mean,
Series one.
It's not bad. It's just the beginning of the weekend.
You're all good, boys. Don't worry about it. They're, of course, in a group on the other side with BDS and Power. So it's, I imagine it's going to be going down to Power, going down to meet them in the lower bracket semis. However, Power, previously over at the major previously, they took down Oxygen, one of the top teams over in Europe. But before we see any of that, it's Limitless. Fist bumps and handshakes between them and the G2 boys, but G2 coming out on top. And to be honest, a pretty